Hey guys, thanks for checking out another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over 3 different ways, the best ways to slow down footage in Premiere Pro and make slow motion. Slow motion. Thanks for checking out another video. My name is Anthony and I make videos that I hope will teach and inspire you to make better videos. If that's something you're into, consider hitting the subscribe button and maybe like this video if you get anything out of it. We're gonna jump right into Premiere Pro here. I've already got 2 pieces of footage here that we're gonna slow down. One is filmed at 24 frames per second and the other one is filmed at 60 frames per second. Now, if your screen looks like this and you're looking in thumbnail view, then you can't really see any of the information natively on here. So I usually like to change it to my list view. That way I can see some of the information here. This is my footage that's filmed at 24 frames per second. I want my timeline to be 24 frames per second, so that's what I'm gonna use here. I'll drag that in, and it's automatically gonna make me a timeline based off of that footage. So you might notice that this footage plays back in real time on my computer. It was filmed in real time at 24 frames per second, 24 frame per second timeline, and if we wanted to slow it down, I can right click the video, I can go up here to speed duration and let's slow it down halfway, 50. What you notice now, you see some very jumpy frames. It's especially noticeable when you have fast motion. So when I moved my hand quickly away from the screen, it was very noticeable. There's one little option that we can choose that will clean some of that up. So if we go over here and go to Optical Flow, and hit OK. So what it's doing with Optical Flow is it's actually creating frames between the frames that we spread apart. By slowing it down, we took 24 frames per second and we made it into kind of 12 frames per second, but played back slowly. So for every 2 frames that the timeline went, we only saw 1 frame of the actual video file. But with Optical Flow on, we're getting some interpolation of what the frame in between might have looked like if it was actually filmed in real life. That was much better, but you might have noticed some digital warbling going on right there. Once my hand starts moving pretty quickly, you see some digital stuff going on in the fingers. That's the frame kind of interpolating what it thinks the pixels should be doing in between the frames here. And it's going on in between almost every frame where my hand is going fast. Now, if you've got footage that there isn't a lot of action that you want to slow down, you might be able to get away with slowing this down even further by going to speed duration and then maybe like down to 20%. There's not a whole lot of motion until I start moving a little bit. So if I play this, all right, so right there, you notice it still looks really good even though we slowed it way down to 20% of the original file. That is pretty impressive, but you'll see that once my hand starts moving quickly, it's gonna really, that is unacceptable. So that's the first way of doing slow motion using Optical Flow. Now you can use Optical Flow and slow down your footage whether you shot in real time or if you shot at high frame rates. So let's go and take our high frame rate shot here, and I'll drag that in. This one was shot at 60 frames per second. If you do the math on this high frame rate clip, 24 is about 40% of 60. So if we right click in here and go to speed duration and then go to 40%, it's already less than half of the speed, but because it was shot in 60 frames per second, we've got frames in between on every single one of these. So it's gonna play back in actual slow motion, just like we intended for it to be shot at. And you'll notice there's no digital warbling, there's no funkiness going on because it was shot like that. Now, there's another way to slow this footage down, and I like to use it a lot more because if you have multiple clips shot in 60 frames per second and you want to slow them all down, it is a pain to go in and do that to every piece of footage that you want to put into your project. So if I right click on the footage in my project window, I'll go up to Modify, Interpret Footage, and go here and assume this frame is, I'm going to put 23.976 because that's the actual frames, but you could just put in 24 and you'll be close enough. And now when I drag that in, you'll see the clip is larger than it was before, but that's because it is already slowed down. Now you can take this a step further by using Optical Flow to slow down your 60 frames per second footage to even less than 40% if you really wanted to, but you're going to be introducing that digital noise back into your timeline. Now you can also use the method that I talked about here when I talked about speed ramping. If that's something that you're into, go check that video out. Highly encouraged. It's a full run through of how to use speed ramping and how to use speed ramping for transitions. Go check it out if that's something that you're into, and we'll see you guys in the next video.